Yo, yo, it's JSF. How y'all doing? Today I want to talk about zoning. I want to talk about zoning in this game, in Mortal Kombat 11, but in NRS games in general, and kind of how to fix the zoning problem. Like, I know a lot of people may think, oh, this game isn't really that bad with zoning. It doesn't really have that much like spam and keep away and stuff like that. But then you think about it for a second, you go, well, Cetrion is the best character in the game to most people. And I mean, her entire playstyle is, if you think about it, you got Boulder, you got Hell's Wrath, you got Ground Pound, you got this shit, you got Tornado, Tornado. You know what I mean? Like, she's got 1,000,000 projectiles and she's easily top 1 or 2 or 3. One of the best characters in the game. Then you think that there's other characters, right? Your katanas and your jades of the world, right? That have projectile hell. And just like, there's a lot of, like, you can't play this game and not have to deal with a lot of oppressive zoning is basically how I want to put it. And if you play the game online, I think we all know that by now. Whether you run as a Jade, whether you run a Katana, Scarlet, Robocop, Cetrion, this game has an issue with zoning. And to understand this issue and to kind of understand how to beat it, or how to, get better at it, because I'm not saying zoning shouldn't exist, right? You shouldn't be able to shoot projectiles from full screen. You can do that in every fighting game, right? Every 2D fighting game, at least I'll say that, has like projectiles you can throw from full screen, right? But they handle it differently. And NRS has kind of struggled with this forever. It kind of goes all the way back. Even if you go back to MK9, right? If you look at MK9, like everybody said Cabal was so broken, and MK9 was just Cabal versus Kenshi, because if you ever watched those characters at high level in MK9, literally Cabal was just instant air gas blast, jump back, gas blast, like he would just jump back, air fireball, if it hits you, try to nomad dash, nomad dash, cancel, and block strings. So it's been like that for a while. Then you look at Injustice 1, and even Injustice 1, the first big tournament Evo Grand Finals was literally Superman eye lasers over and over again, right? It was kind of the same thing. We've seen the Zod versus Lex Luthor clip. If you haven't seen the Zod versus Lex Luthor clip, it's the most insane oppressive zoning shit you'll ever see in your life. It's ridiculous. Like, I can't believe they put that in the game. Now, MKX is the only game where it wasn't really a thing, because that game was just rush down city. It was literally just rush down. It was literally just, run button. Then we got to Injustice 2, and it was Starfire, Dr. Fate. And now we get to MK11. It's the same thing, right? And it's just kind of funny because in all these games, they always kind of design zoners that you can't zone back, or you can't like zoners who counter zoning, right? Like Cetrion, right? Like Cetrion has all these tools, like I said before, but then she also has a teleport, right? So the whole weakness of a zoning character, and I want to put the frame data on the screen for a second. The whole weakness of a zoning character, right? It's supposed to be, hey, they're good at keeping you out, they're good at spacing you out, but when they get in, they're supposed to be weak, right? Cetrion has an 8-frame down 1 instead of a 7-frame. She has an 8-frame jab instead of a 7-frame. Her buttons are slightly slower, right? You would think, oh, that makes her bad. It's like, well, no, she has one of the best jabs in the game. Look at the range, right? It's pretty absurd. You know what I mean? She has really good pressure up close, right? She can literally tornado you and mix you, into plus frames. I can spin meter, be even more plus, or I can just do something like this and be plus 15, right? And then go into more mix-ups. Like, you would think that, oh, she does less damage, so it doesn't matter. It's like, no, she's still super busted. And I was gonna just talk about how good Cetrion is, but I wanted to talk about zoning in general, right? Because the way other games handle this make it so much more interesting to me. Because like in NRS games, it's very normal for you to shoot. Let's say you shoot a projectile, right? Hell's Wrath, right? If you EX it, what happens? You do another one, right? If I go to Katana, right? If I go to Katana, I throw a fan at you. Cool. If I EX it, guess what? I throw another one, right? In NRS games, it's extremely commonplace, extremely normal for the EX version of your projectile for you to shoot another projectile. In most other fighting games, from my knowledge, that isn't really the case, right? Like if I do an EX fire, if I'm playing Street Fighter 5, right? Say I'm in Street Fighter 5 and I pick Ryu and I shoot a fireball, cool. If I shoot EX fireball, I don't shoot 2 fireballs, right? Same with Ken, same with Akuma, shit, the only situation where that does happen is, I believe, like Nash. Nash can throw 2 sonic booms or an extra sonic boom when he does EX, but he does lunge himself forward, extending his hurt box. So like if you were to jump in on that type of move, you know, you would get fucking clapped for it, right? Whereas this is kind of, you know, not it's a much less extreme case in this game, right? If you look at a game like in Street Fighter in general, honestly, there's zoning in that game, but it doesn't, like, you can only have 1 fireball on the screen at a time. I'm gonna just add this in because I know somebody will probably say it. I'm well aware that Gao can put 80 projectiles on the screen in Street Fighter 5, but that's only in V-Trigger and that's only him. He's the exception, not the rule. And it takes his V-meter for him to do it, and he's a charge character. So, you know, not exactly the same as being able to throw 5 fireballs as Liu Kang, just saying. So there really is no, it's not, naturally it's less oppressive. Sorry, I'm stumbling on my words a little bit, but naturally it's going to be less oppressive because you can only have, imagine Katana throws a fan. I can't do it until the fan's gone, right? I can't throw another one. I would have to wait. I wouldn't be able to just fire these off like this, right? Or do that, have 2, and then have another one you wake up. Like, having somebody just wake up into a fireball is very normal in this game. I'm not saying that's the problem. I just think it's interesting to think about how other games handle this type of situation, right? If you look at a game like Dragon Ball FighterZ, every single, almost every single character has a basic projectile. It's a ki blast, right? But how it works is they have the lowest priority. So that low fireball that every character can do loses to better fireballs, right? Not to mention there's a universal teleport system in the game called Vanish. So, you know, if I ever don't want to deal with your zoning, I can vanish and spend a bar meter for that. So, you know, there's naturally that in place to just deal with it. In Grand Blue Fantasy Versus, like, there's literally cooldown on your special moves, and if you use easy inputs, there's more cooldown. So, you know, a lot of different games handle it a lot of different ways. NRS doesn't really seem to want to handle it. They seem to see zoning and keep away as like a legit playstyle. And I'm not saying it can't be, right? I'm not saying, oh, this, you should never be able to throw fans at me. I'm not saying that. I'm saying being able to just mindlessly do this over and over and again at the same pace and not change anything about what you're doing, and then randomly do this one time should not be possible. Like, well, possible, but it shouldn't be good, right? Like, this is kind of, the way I look at this is like, imagine, not, and I don't mean Katana, right? I mean just zoning in general, because it could be Cetrion, it could be any character who has really good zoning. Like, shit, Liu Kang has decent zoning. Like, I feel like with a lot of these characters, like Jade, right, or Katana as well, it's kind of like if Guile had E Honda's headbutt and he didn't have to charge it. Well, no, that's, even if he does have to charge it, it doesn't matter because Sonic Boom is charged, right? Because it's like, not only do you have a good fireball that you can just do, right? And as I'm trying to like get in, work my way in, jump or duck under your fireballs or whatever, you can just fly at me with an unreactable move. And while that unreactable move is unsafe, it's still kind of ridiculous in the situation of me trying to deal with your fireballs, right? Like, Cetrion is the worst because even though she doesn't have that, she has ground pound, right? And then she can cancel it too. So if you think, oh, I'm just gonna jump after the first one, right? Right? I'm gonna just jump in and punish her after the first one. If that's what you're thinking, well, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? I'm screwing it up, but you get the point, right? You can get smoked for that too. It seems like the zoners very often have a lot of options, and there aren't always counterplay options. And I've talked about counterplay in general with this game before, but it's just something that NRS kind of struggles with, because they will design one character that has everything, and then the other characters are just trying to compete. Like, I'm just trying to get in on you, I get in on you, you teleport away, or I get in on Cetrion, then I get pressured, right? You finally make it to Cetrion, you know what she does? Down 4 wall. Down 4 wall. Now she's plus 15, right? I'm not good at that. I don't play this character. Then you get hit by that, right? And you know what she's gonna do after that? Wall. Wall. Grab. You know what I mean? Like, you're gonna get pressured, you're gonna get staggered, you're gonna get mixed once you get in by the zoner. Like, this is like, stuff like this is NRS doesn't really understand. Like, there's a reason Dawson in Street Fighter doesn't have a DP. There's a whole ass reason he doesn't. There's a reason when he jumps, he's in the air for 85 seconds, right? Like, they're design elements that are the way they are for a reason, right? Like, it's just, I don't know, man. I think NetherRealm should try to just look at the game, look at other fighting games and go, okay, cool. So we want to have moves like this, and you don't even have to remove any moves. Like Hell's Wrath can stay in the game. Maybe make it more minus. Like, it's cool that it's, you know what I mean? Maybe make it so you can only do it in the air, right? Make it an air only move, so you have to jump to do the move at least. So you gotta hold up more often, you know what I mean? If you want to do that move, like, you just gotta have more of a catch to some of these moves, other than just, you know, yeah, I can just do it. And I'm not saying nerf Katana by any means, because I don't even think Katana's top tier, right? But I'm just saying the zoning can be really, really oppressive. It can be really discouraging to new players, to you know what I mean? Not new players, to people who understand fighting games. Sometimes it's just really annoying to fight this playstyle. And at the end of the day, these are video games. These are entertainment. And even in the competitive sense, right? If we hate the game, we're not going to want to play it. Like, the player base for this game is extremely low. This game is pretty much absolutely dead, other than tournaments giving out money. Like, if there wasn't money on the line, nobody would play this game. And that's because it's not fun to play, right? It ties into that as well. A lot of people don't like just being zoned out. And I'm not saying I'm holier than thou, because I am a dirty, rotten spammer, and I will throw projectiles at you and beat you. I will do it. You know what I mean? I will do it. I have no problem doing it, right? But when you have a character who's got air fireball, straight fireball, low fireball, you know what I mean? Then a move like this to fly at you, or a teleport as well, it becomes really obnoxious to fight. And I think they should just think about that a little bit more, right? Like, to deal with this problem, look at what other games do. Maybe you only have one projectile on the screen at a time. There are some moves in this game that have cooldown, and, you know, maybe some of these fireballs should have it too. Or maybe they should have a little more recovery, so they're just not as spammable, right? Yeah, like I'm saying, you don't have to make these useful. You can have a fireball, like something. Let me just show y'all an example real quick. A move that nobody ever uses, that everybody thinks is terrible, that I think is very useful. Scorpion. A move that everybody thinks is terrible, that I think is useful. And we'll pick Collector. This is another good example, because NetherRealm is weird. They put things in their game that show, oh, hey, they understand this, but then they'll be the exception and not the rule. So Scorpion has a fireball. It's a mid fireball, right? It's a mid fireball, right? You can't duck this fireball, right? Now, 18 frame startup, really not that slow. Now, its arc is not as good, right? And you have to direct it, right? You can do it close, you can do it medium, you can do it far, right? And that's it. There's only 3 ranges, right? And everybody thinks this move is terrible. I think this move is great. I think this move is great. People think this move is bad because when you compare it to other fireballs, like Katana's fireball, or, you know what I mean, or like any, like Liu Kang's fireball, or any character's fireball, really, it doesn't really compete with any of those. But that's not the point of the move. It's not here to zone, right? You can have projectiles like this in the game, and projectiles can be better than this, right? They can be straight and not have to be directed, etc. Like, it can be a better fireball than this, but this fireball it kind of shows you this isn't here for you to zone. That's not the point of this. And when you EX this, when you EX it, look, you don't throw a second one, right? You don't throw a second one. You get a slightly bigger relaunch, right? So you can get a combo off of it, sort of, right? You know what I mean? Stuff like that. I think more projectiles should be in line with this. Again, I'm not saying exactly like this, like if they throw towards the ground, you know what I mean? You got to direct them. I just mean like projectiles that are not designed as keep away tools. This is a neutral tool. This is designed to like make you not duck. And now that you're not ducking, you're gonna get hit by this, or you're gonna block it and take the chip, right? That's what this projectile is for. I don't play Scorpion, but if I did, I would use this move. Like, this move would be in my loadout majority of the time. I think it's really good. Same with Collector, right? Collector has a fireball. Now, his is an ability, right? And his is a high. You can duck it. You can duck right under it. Even if I EX it, right? And as you see, when I EX it, I don't get a second one. I don't get a second one. This projectile is not for that, right? It knocks down on hit, gets good hit advantage, so it can trade with projectiles, but it's not amazing at zoning. So when you're getting zoned out, it's good for that, right? And if you EX it, you get a combo off of it, right? And the beauty of it is, if you trade, you can get a combo off of it. I think this is really cool. I think this is really cool and so much more interesting than just pew 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 fireball, right? I think this is more interesting than RoboCop low gunshot. I think it's more interesting than Boulder, Earthquake, Hell's Wrath. I think it's so much more interesting because it makes the fireball, like, not only does it give you a good fireball, but it gives you a fireball that encourages you to get in, right? Even though Scorpion's EX fireball isn't that great, it still knocks down. You know what I mean? If you play teleport cancel, maybe you do that and then you get in with a teleport, right? So fireballs like this encourage you to zone less. I think there should be more projectiles like this instead of more like Liu Kang's projectile, right? You have some in the game like Raiden's that have a shit ton of startup, but that just makes a bad fireball. I'm not saying make the fireball shitty. I'm saying alter the utility of them. So maybe it's not just zoning. And the other thing is stop making characters zoners and giving them teleports. Stop it. Stop with the Cetrion shit. Stop with the Scarlet shit. This has been a problem since day zero. Like, you have, if the character has good zoning, they don't need a teleport or a charge move to get them across the screen. They don't need it. They don't need this. If they're a zoner, they don't need this, and they don't need this. Like, just don't give it to them. Like, let the zoners be weak up close. And I understand you want characters to be able to be played multiple ways, and that's cool. I love that idea, but you can't make every playstyle super strong, right? If you say, hey, we want you to be able to zone with Liu Kang if you want to play that way, cool. But if his zoning is going to be strong, his rushdown has to be weaker. Like, there has to be a balance. You gotta, I mean, it's called balance for a reason. The scales have to tip. Like, you can't just say, oh, he's amazing at rushdown all the time. Oh, you want to zone with him too? Here you go. Here's an extra fireball, but his rushdown is still amazing. His whiff punishing is still amazing because he has a charge move that can hit you from way back here. You know what I mean? Like, it's just kind of crazy. You kind of got to balance that a little bit better. But anyway, I just wanted to talk about zoning a little bit, projectile game a little bit, because I think it's something that NetherRealm really struggles with their games. I think a lot of other fighting games handle it well. They discourage that type of behavior, right? Like I've said before, in Guilty Gear Strive, if you run away and don't engage your opponent, you literally get a negative meter penalty. Well, that's Guilty Gear in general. You get you lose meter if you run away. You know what I mean? Dragon Ball FighterZ, they give you meter for going forward in ArcSys games. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they encourage you to approach your opponent in different ways. In Street Fighter, you can only throw one fireball at a time. And a lot of characters have like a slow fireball. You can dash behind it. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. Like, you can look at the landscape, look at other fighting games, or look at your own game. Like, these are interesting fireballs. Like in MKX, Scorpion had a fireball that was terrible to use, but it was an amazing cancel, right? So you can have projectile moves. Don't get rid of the projectiles. I like them. I like this one. But just make them less brain dead. Please make them less spammable, less abusable. That way, if people want to zone, they're going to have to think. Like, I imagine somebody zoned you out with this move, then you know they just outplayed you, because this move is very shitty for zoning. Very shitty for zoning. So if you get zoned out by this, you just got outplayed, and that's totally fine. That's totally fine, right? That's how it should be, instead of just, I have amazing fireball, I have teleport, I also have charge move, you know what I mean? I also can air to air you. Like, you basically can never approach me, ever. You know what I mean? That kind of sucks. But anyway, y'all stay safe. Y'all have a good one. I don't want to sit here and repeat myself all day. Hope y'all enjoy the content. If you do, please subscribe. If you haven't, I appreciate everybody who has. Hopefully we get an announcement of something soon, but I don't have my hopes up. Yeah. I'm looking forward to Guilty Gear Strive in June, though. Anyway, I'm going to get up out of here. JSF. Peace.